Hi, my name is Nicole Banowetz, and I am creating an artwork for L+A+N+D. When I started working on my piece, I was an artist in residence here, and there was a really large storm, and it blew down a bunch of trees. And I was just seeing these downed trees everywhere. And I was thinking a lot about the kind of sadness that comes from the trees falling, but also the new life and nutrients that comes from them, the different mushrooms, funguses, slime molds, lichen, and moss. So all of those tiny things that come out of the fallen log are what I'm inspired by in my piece. So the whole artwork is inspired by the nutrient system. When the log falls, all these tiny organisms break it down, and when they do that, they create nutrients that goes out into the dirt. New trees can come and spring forth. So I've been calling these forms that sort of are hovering above the log my nutrient ghosts, because they're sort of these trees that have died that are then able to feed the new generation of trees. And so they represent that future generation and past generation, the cycle of the nutrients in the forest. I had to think a lot about where I could be and find a log that I could cover. Often when I make artwork, I have to buy a roll of fabric, and the fabric is basically plastic. So I was like, how can I find materials in the world that already exist? And I was able to find tents as a good material. So broken tents, so people would in theory throw these tents away or maybe just keep them in their garage for years. And I worked with a group of volunteers to kind of deconstruct the tents and make them into this artwork. What really made sense was to design different applique fabric cutouts that are based off of these different organisms. So I made a lot of patterns. The volunteers would come in and spend hours with me cutting out all these tiny little forms. And these are the forms that you can see that populate the log. And so they represent all the tiny organisms that would actually be growing on different logs all throughout Bernheim property. I'm hoping when people see the artwork that it allows them to see these tiny organisms all around Bernheim. Maybe they'll be like, oh, I should start looking in other logs. Like, what might I see that's an actual natural organism that exists here? And also thinking about the importance of the cycles of the forest and how every part of the forest is really important. Because a lot of people, they might notice the giant trees, the beautiful flowers, but maybe they're not realizing that there's these tiny slime molds that are also really important. And all of these tiny things sometimes get ignored in the forest when they're really important.